Hey everyone, so I wanted to give a update really quick on where we are currently with the goal of hitting 1700 in about 10 weeks. Right now, as you can see, we're about at 1150 rapid rating, which is pretty cool. I haven't actually been playing that many ranked games though, so I'll talk about that further along in the video why. But I also wanted to break down some of the advice and thoughts I had when I posted on Reddit, especially for anyone who is also wanting to learn chess quickly, because I think it can actually be quite difficult when you're starting out to know what to focus on. And so hopefully this helps any beginning players that want some good advice. And so first off, I wanted to touch on just some of the comments that I got. I thought it was hilarious that it must in the past it must have been there must have been a lot of other people from other games that have sort of made similar claims, like I'm going to get to grandmasters like in a couple of months or something like that. It was kind of funny seeing all of the different kinds of responses to that. The goal, I mean, it's mainly for me, and I understood when I made it that it was like a really, it's going to be really difficult to get there, and so I don't want you to think that I don't value the effort that I know a lot of people took, like chess players have taken in order to reach like a high rating. I think that everyone's different, everyone learns differently. All of the experiences that they've had leading up to this, certain point in their life will either make them learn faster in chess or learn slower in chess. And that's just the way it is. So it could have been, I mean, it can still be that maybe I'm one of the people that is just going to be learning chess a lot slower, or maybe I'm going to be learning chess faster. I don't know, but I might as well set a high goal for myself anyway. But so far, after playing after 1 week, I feel like the things I've learned in the past will help me to improve at chess quickly. And also reviewing my goal, I think that I'm more confident now that it's more likely to happen. And then again on the chess community, it was awesome to see all the positivity, and there were so many people that actually reached out to me and offered coaching and advice. There were a few negative comments, but very few compared to the other communities, other gaming communities that I've seen. And yeah, it's just a really wholesome, good community overall, I found. And I really appreciate all of the thoughtful and helpful replies. There was a question, jumping right into it, of measurement, like how I'm actually going to measure this goal. And people were asking about like lechess.org or chess.com, because lechess.org has like a slightly inflated rating. And like, are you going to play Blitz, Rapid, or Classical? Because Blitz is harder to get a higher rank, and then Rapid second hardest, Classical easiest apparently. And I sort of did some experimentation and found that playing on Rapid is what I enjoy learning on. Seems to be a really good learning speed for me. However, I might go back to Blitz. I'm not sure. It depends on how I'm feeling later on in the challenge, but it'll either be Blitz or Rapid on chess.com is how I'm going to be measuring it. And then on that note, for learning, I personally would recommend for a beginner to be starting on Rapid and learning on Rapid as well, especially I found a 15-minute with 10-second increment time. I'm quite comfortable playing that as a beginner, and so and you sort of can go through all the different parts of the game. Like that was some of the advice that I was getting. It's like, make sure you study not only the beginning but also the mid game and the end game, because those are all of equal importance. And with blitz games, often what happens is that you spend a lot more time thinking about the opening, like the beginning of the games, rather than the middle and the end, and so you sort of miss out on that skill set. And so yeah, for a beginning player, I would also suggest to learn Rapid. I did also talk about styles a lot in my previous video, and I got a lot of feedback on that, and people were saying that following styles, you don't really do it in chess until maybe like the highest levels, and it kind of got me thinking that that's actually quite a similar pattern that I've seen, and I didn't realize when I made the first video that only when I sort of hit maybe like the 95th percentile of a game did looking at really good players and pro players and like looking at their styles and what they're doing, it didn't really come into play until then. Like that's when I found that those big jumps would happen when I'd study another player that was doing really well and see what they were doing. But I did have to have that really high level of understanding first, and without it, I don't think I agree that I don't think styles are that useful until you hit that point. And so, uh, what I did is I sort of went away from that idea and focused on the two main things that people were suggesting would be most useful to me, and that was tactics and analysis. I started off and I had a look at a whole bunch of training websites that people had recommended, and after sort of devouring like a couple of hours of that content and trying to take it and apply it to my chess games, I realized very quickly that it wasn't actually helping me very much. Like looking at like studies and different like long lines of different openers and things like that. When I tried to apply on the board, it was just not happening very often. Like what I'd been studying, the it wouldn't occur when was playing beginning players, so I still wouldn't know what to do, and they'd be doing weird reactions. And so, the study, I feel like again that's sort of something that might come later on. Um, those kind of trainings where you're trading like long openings and trying to figure out why players are doing specific things. And so instead, I focused a lot of my time on tactics, which is probably the number one thing that people suggested to work on. And I ended up focusing most of my time on tactics, and I spent around 2 to 3 hours per day. And I managed to break my initial survival goal just yesterday, and I hit it was 22, and I hit 28, which the puzzle elo equivalent is around 1500 to 1600. So I'm pretty happy with the progress that I've made already, and I've sort of been playing around just with the training section on chess.com, which you have to subscribe for in order to sort of select the trainings and do multiple trainings a day. But people have suggested if you don't want to pay for anything, you can just use the chess.org for that. I personally prefer chess.com's one at the moment, but it's up to you. And then the second most useful thing that people suggested was analyzing your games after you play them. Seems pretty obvious, but from what I know of when I was playing StarCraft, it's actually quite a difficult thing to go from wanting to grind and play a lot of chess games and have fun playing chess, and actually taking the time to analyze your games afterwards and see what happened. In chess, I think it's actually a bit easier to do than in video games, because video games are more like in your face engaging. But nevertheless, like that's a really important part of improving very quickly. And what I was doing is I was first breaking down the play I did without the engine. So I would go through and see, oh, what moves he did. Do I think the moves I did were great, or do I think I could have done something else? And then after I'd gone through a few, mistakes, or found a few mistakes that I thought, or just looked at my play, then I would use the engine to sort of break down and see what the engine thought were good and bad moves and things like that. Me personally, I find that focusing on the first mistake that you make every game, rather than looking through the whole thing and being like, oh yeah, all of this stuff happened, and how can I learn from this? I find that the first mistake is usually the one that will help you the most. And as a human being, you can only learn so much per analysis, unless you have like a really good teacher or something like that. So, I find that for me personally, just trying to take away just the one most important thing, the first thing that happened in this game, or the one most important concept in this game, and do that per game, I find that it's much easier for me to remember and apply those in the future. So again, that might help someone out. But then I was also extremely fortunate that a lot of people in my Twitch chat when I was streaming were 2K plus players, and they've just been showering me with incredible advice and pointing out after the games where I made mistakes, or where I can look into doing some interesting ideas, like if there was a tactic that I missed, things like that. So it makes it very easy for me to spot where I've gone wrong, or explore different ideas. So shout out to those guys who were there. You guys are awesome, and you're actually what makes the chess community such a great place, I think, as well. So right now, as a beginning player, I think doing daily tactics plus 15-minute rapid games with 10-second increment, and analyzing every single game you play, preferably with high-level players if you can, or a coach, If you're not able to have a community alongside you like I do with Twitch chat, then doing the analysis yourself, and then having a coach and having a session maybe 1 or 2 times a week, I think would also be quite good. And you can find free coaches on Reddit as well. There's a thread for that. And again, I feel even more confident than when I started out that this is actually possible for me to do. And if you're keen to follow along on my journey, then hit that subscribe button and head over to my Twitch channel. Link will be below. I appreciate you watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it.